This is Minecraft. Recently, I've seen videos online showcasing Minecraft with ultra realistic graphics, and I always wondered, are these actually real mod packs that you can download and play? This is Ardacraft, a mod pack and server that utilizes Conquest Reforged and create mods for Minecraft. So today, I'm logging into Ardacraft. This video is going to be mostly unedited just so we can explore this server together. But there's a single problem. This map is so huge and there's literally hundreds of locations. I have no idea where to start. Well, thankfully, one of the members of Ardacraft actually reached out to me in the comments, and he gave me some suggestions on locations to check out. And I also checked out Ardacraft's website, and I was able to find a list of featured locations to find. So this is the Falls of Rauros, and it actually is just this beautiful, huge waterfall here. So this map is literally 70 times the size of Skyrim. And I think what's really crazy about that is literally all of this was kind of handcrafted by a player. There's not any sort of random world generation here. Everything you see here was detailed by a player. I think the map started off as like a world paint, so they painted the general kind of layout of everything, but then they had to come in and actually texture things by hand. So things like the staircases here and things like the cliff face, all of this had to be textured by hand. So it's kind of crazy. I always see screenshots of like ultra realistic Minecraft and it's like, oh, that looks really cool, but there's no way that's real, right? So in order to make Minecraft look this good, there's actually a couple of different things at play here. One of them being Conquest Reforged, which adds, Conquest Reforged by itself actually adds over 14,000 different blocks to the game. And it allows you to build things that are much more detailed. So if we kind of look here at the terrain, or take a closer look at the terrain, you can see it's all built by layer. So it's not necessarily full blocks. It's actually, if you think about snow from vanilla Minecraft, that's kind of how Conquest Reforged works. So you can see things are built by layer here. And it allows you to build very detailed terrain. And you can also use it, there's also vertical slabs as well. So just like how the slabs here are on the ground, you can also do it vertically as well. So you can see this isn't a full block, it's actually kind of a vertical slab. Adding that extra depth to build, it really plays intuitively. It doesn't really feel like it's too much of an addition, but it really lets you expand your building and makes it a lot more detailed. So we can see with the falls here, they actually added this kind of mist. So if we zoom out here, you can see the falls have this really beautiful water mist coming off of it. Another thing that makes Minecraft look really good like this is obviously you have things like distant horizons, which allows us to see way past the normal render distance. My render distance is actually set to 12 chunks right now, but distant horizons allows us to see up to basically to the edges of the map here. So right now I think distant horizons is set to 256. So distant horizons allows you to use LODs. So if we actually zoom in, you'll see it's actually just kind of low resolution textures, but it doesn't actually render the terrain, so a lot less taxing on your computer system. So I believe Ardacraft is using a modified version of Bliss shaders, which is actually included in Conquest Reforged. So it gives the world this beautiful fantasy kind of look. And Bliss shaders is actually a very optimized shader pack. So I feel like even on like pretty modest computers, you can use Bliss shaders and it'll run really well. Coming up here, we actually have a nice view of the lake that's in there. You kind of see it leads out over the falls, goes into this wide over river here. This is really cool, actually. I'm actually really curious to hear what the story is behind these locations. So if you guys are fans of Middle-earth or the Lord of the Rings, let me know what the story behind the Falls of Rauros is. I'm really curious to hear what that is. Oh gosh, I'm probably butchering that name, but whatever. We're rocking it. So we got a nice little pathway down here to the falls. And you can just see like the detail here. Like I said, you can use Conquest Reforged to add layers to your builds. So there's not any part of this build that's like flat or just not detailed. Even things like trees are built using different blocks from Conquest Reforged. So if we actually middle click this, it'll give us, you know, the birch log branches that they use to actually build these trees out of. But yeah, Ardacraft actually makes it really easy to install. All you have to do is literally install the Ardacraft mod pack and then join their server, and then this is what you get. So it's a really kind of complete in-box sort of experience. I kind of want to fly around this the falls a little bit more and see what else we can find. Looks like we kind of have this little peninsula in the middle of the water, or maybe it's an island. So we have 2 streams leading to the waterfalls here. I absolutely love the mountains off in the distance. So the falls here was actually one of the featured locations, and I can definitely see why. I'm a really big fan of landscaping in Minecraft, but you can see not only do they do the landscape, but they also do things like the structures here. This is pretty cool. It's kind of like an ancient little temple, or maybe like a watch post that watches over the falls. It looks like off in the distance is actually some, looks like really big statues, so I kind of want to fly over here a little bit. Distant Horizons really like puts into perspective how big this map actually is. So some of the members of Ardacraft actually reached out to me in the comments on my last video, and they were actually so chill. I was actually surprised that anybody saw my video, so I thought that was really cool. I feel like Ardacraft has a really fun community, just sort of brought together for their love of Middle Earth and things, and the skill in building here is actually kind of incredible. It looks like here we have these 2 statues carved into the mountains. This actually looks really, really cool. At first glance, like I really wouldn't think this is Minecraft, to be honest with you guys, because this is sexy. You can see all the different layers that they use to build the faces. Yeah, you can just see the map goes on and on for miles, literal miles. So I think what's really crazy is that this is just a single location, and there's hundreds of locations on this map. So this is literally just one of hundreds. All right, so the next location I want to check out is Lisclorn. So this isn't actually part of the Middle Earth lore. This is kind of an original location that the Ardacraft team has created here. So let's kind of walk around Lisclorn and kind of figure out maybe what this town is all about, because I feel like each of these locations has their own unique sort of story. We can also see here we have some custom mobs that they added in. I think something that's really kind of interesting is I want to take a brief little look at the texturing here, so you can see all the different blocks that they use just for simple walls and things. We have dark gray plaster, diorite, and then we have mortar cobble, and that's just for a simple little home here. Using texture is a good way to make all of your builds really stand out. You don't necessarily have to do this in Conquest Reforged. You can do it in just vanilla Minecraft. And if you guys are interested in me doing a playthrough on Conquest Reforged, maybe starting my own world, let me know in a comment. I'd love to do that. Conquest Reforged is actually one of my favorite mod packs as of recent, just because of what you can kind of build with it. So for this town, I'm kind of getting maybe a Tuscany, maybe Italian kind of vibe here. I really love the castle walls there. I definitely want to go over there and take a closer look. But we got plenty of livestock just around the village here. But what's crazy is all these little village homes here, you can actually go into every single one of them. It's not like they're just facades. You can actually enter all of them, and they all have their own little story and kind of fit into the world. So walking down the main street here, you can kind of see they used these fence posts and things, different things to kind of frame out the roof here. But let's take a look inside one of these buildings here. Looks like in here's sort of a storage room for all the pots and things. We have like maybe a little bookkeeper room here, so you can keep track of all the sales. I really like this room actually for some reason. I love the little arch window at the top. Wow, look at this. I really love these small little nooks and crannies that you can sort of find yourself in. Looks like they maybe this town is really into like pottery or textiles or something with all the different things here. But it's really cool. I love these little alleyways that just kind of go between the buildings. You can see all the builds have nice texturing. So what do you guys think the story of Lisclorn is? I'm thinking it looks like there's a lot of pots and things around, so maybe they're known for their pottery. So what is kind of cool is that all the locations on Ardacraft's website actually have the full write-up about them, but I kind of like to explore them and sort of figure out the stories for myself. I think that's what makes it the most fun. And if you guys are really interested in checking out Ardacraft, it's completely free to join as long as you have a copy of Minecraft. You just have to download the Ardacraft mod pack, and then you're able to join. And I'll leave a link in the description for how you can install Ardacraft. They made a really short 2-minute video. It's really easy to install. You can see all the houses here have a nice sort of texture. Again, using Conquest Reforged, they're able to kind of build out the walls layer by layer here. Gives the walls a nice graduated sort of look. Let's make our way to the main town here through the castle. You can see even the exterior of the wall is actually really nicely detailed. Looks like there's kind of a little bit of a moat out front. You can see all the towers have nice texturing to them. There's not like a single face on this wall that's flat or boring to look at. I feel like this is definitely the pinnacle of Minecraft building. It's really inspiring too. I'm getting tons of ideas for what I want to do on my own world. All right, let's step inside here. So this is the city of Lisclorn. Again, I'm getting kind of a sort of a Tuscany sort of vibe. Looks like we have some tapestries over the top. Be a little merchant room right here. Let's just kind of walk down the main street. See what we can find. Really like that. I like this little archway. It's kind of hard not to want to stop into every single building, but every single building sort of has its own little story and kind of has a theme to it. Looks like in here maybe they're drying some clothes. Pretty cool. I like these little backyard kind of spaces. Actually, this is such a minor detail, but look at this. They kind of textured the sand here. Looks like over here we have a little river with some boats and things. So actually, let's take a closer look at these boats. For some reason, I have an obsession with boats. All right, this is a dating tip for all the fellas. I don't know why it works, but girls like boats, so get you a little boat. People in landlocked areas are like, how am I supposed to get a boat? This is really cool. I love this little river that runs alongside Lisclorn here. Especially with the mountains in the background. That is just gorgeous. So Lisclorn is kind of this original location. So I feel like it's actually really cool that areas where they had space in the map, they could build their own little locations and sort of fit it into the lore. So I'm thinking Lisclorn is definitely a trading sort of village just because you can see this boat here is filled with all the pots and things that we saw earlier on the outskirts of town. So maybe they sell a lot of pots and textiles and things. I really like this boat. It's a nice long little ship here. And then over here we also have smaller boats filled with barrels, and it looks like hay or maybe baskets of some sort. We have like some sort of hoist right here, which is actually a really cool little build right here. I like this. I like when actually this crank right here I'm pretty sure is from the create mod. So that's another thing too that Ardacraft includes is also create. But I love just wandering through the town. I could literally wander through this map for hours. And I love these little just details and things. You can actually see here, so create isn't just like slabs and half slabs. It also introduces these little blocks here. So you can like add these to the side of builds and stuff. And it adds these little kind of vertical and horizontal planks and things. So I'm thinking on this side of the town is just sort of warehouses. So we have like a little scale, kind of a bookkeeper area, keeping track of all the stuff coming in and out of town. Anytime I come across like a coastal little town like this, I think of Riften from Skyrim. Looks like in here's just a little storage room. So I think the main thing is they export a lot of these pots and things. Would you guys live here if you were in this world? I definitely would. I think Lisclorn definitely seems like a very affluent little community here. Let's kind of make our way over to the other beach on this side. Maybe we just landed after kind of traveling through Middle Earth. Now we're in Lisclorn, kind of taking sailor leave here. Nice little boat on this side. Actually, I gotta nerd out about this because I'm a huge fan of landscaping. I love when builds kind of have these little rocks and things like this. That is so cool. But you can even see they went into the detail of actually sloping into the river here. So it's a nice gradual slope. I love it. I love all the depth as well. So they have like little rocks and things. Looks like here we have some netting and things. I think this side of town is more of like a personal area, like personal spot to launch your boats and things. Because on that side, that looks like more of a business sort of area. And then over here, you know, these boats are kind of empty and they're a little bit smaller. Maybe for fishing. Looks like in here has like a little fishing net. Coming through here. Let's see what's through here. We have a donkey. Hey, donkey. It's our noble steed right here. Looks like in here we have more textiles and things. Looks like this is a little wash area, so you can kind of wash all your towels and textures and rugs and things. Again, another little storage area. I love these little nooks with like the pen and quill. Imagine they're doing a lot of writing and keeping track of all the sales and things that they're doing. Lisclorn to me just seems like more of a affluent little area. But even these little side streets, you know, there's little details like rocks and things. The streets not being perfectly even. Little seating areas out front of the homes here so you can see people traveling along the roads. This looks like another little textile shop in here. So we have some coins here, some seating, so you can make your trades. I don't know if you guys have ever read it, but there's this book that I really enjoyed called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And this kind of town reminds me of that book for some reason. Because in the story, the character meets this little merchant guy that he stays with. Looks like it here's like a little town market. I'm a big fan. Big fan of the markets. All right, this is a dating tip for the fellas out there. Take your girl to a farmer's market. She'll love it, maybe. I don't know. It depends if she's into organic foods or not. It's a really, really cool little market. So we have like different meats and things. Everyone has some wares for sale. I was about to say whales for sale, but wares for sale. This looks like a really big building here in the center. Maybe it's not the center of town, but this looks like one of the main structures of the town here. I'm thinking this might be the town hall or maybe the some sort of political building here. Looks like there's a really tall tower on this side as well that kind of overlooks everything. So maybe we'll make our way up the tower and kind of see what we can find. I love the mountains over in the background as well. Oh my gosh. Distant Horizons is honestly one of the greatest one of the coolest mods they ever made for Minecraft. Let's see if we can find our way in here. Looks like you follow the street down and it kind of leads to the river, or you can make your way up these stairs here. I love it. I love this little, I don't know what this would be called, just a little seating area out front. Like I said, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the little nooks like this. Look at this door. Really big green door. I love how the door actually contrasts the kind of earthier tones of the build. Maybe this is like a copper door. Let's check it out. Tall oxidized bronze door. That's really cool. So you can see the door's actually 3 wide, or 3 tall. Did I just say wide? Nick doesn't know his directions. Oh wow, look at this little room in here. I'm thinking this is some sort of throne room or definitely some sort of political kind of room here. Got a nice rug leading our way down into a bigger rug. I like that. I like how they drape the rugs over the stairs. And then we got a little throne here. Don't mind if I do. And then we even have like a little scribe here. So the scribe literally has the chillest job in the whole kingdom. He just listens to the king yap all day and he writes it down. He's like, note that down. Beautiful little atrium. I don't know what the actual name for this would be. I guess throne room, but to me, I'm calling it an atrium. But we can see the little details up in the ceiling here. If we kind of come up to the ceiling, we can see all the beams and things keeping the roof up. Look at the little details here as well. Even in the upper parts of the ceiling, we have little mosaics and just different texturing and things. If we kind of come to the side of the wall here, you can see all kinds of texturing just poking out, giving the wall just tons and tons of depth. Looks like a little balcony up top there too. But let's see what's kind of behind the throne here. Ooh, I like it. Walks into a dungeon. Oh, I like it. So it looks like down here is actually maybe a little scroll room. It looks like these scrolls are actually kept behind bars. So these are definitely these are like that sacred knowledge. These are those like forbidden pickup lines that you shouldn't be using. But definitely someone was back here cooking because we got the pen and quill. We got a book open. What's that say? We got iron bars and things keeping everything safe. So I like that. I like that. That's a cool little room. Let's see if we can make our way up to that balcony right there. That's kind of overlooking the entire atrium here. See if we can kind of come through here. So it looks like this doorway leads us back outside here. And then coming over here, we have a nice view of a ship that's being worked on. Let's go take a look at that. Ooh, this is a really cool view of the mountains over there. I really like that. Lisclorn's a really nice community. I think like what's amazing is the amount of dedication that actually goes into something like this. So I've personally had a Minecraft world for about 2 years. I'm curious to hear what's the longest you guys have kept a Minecraft world, but I know for me, even keeping a world for just a couple years, I get kind of bored of it, right? And sometimes I just get so bored and frustrated of it that I just want to delete it and start something new. But Ardacraft has been in the works for over 10 years. So it's kind of amazing, like not only the skill of building, but also the dedication, because it does take a certain level of dedication and discipline to keep coming back to a project like this. So it looks like here they have different tools and things, and they're working on the ship. And I love unfinished kind of projects like this that sort of, it makes the world feel more alive when you have things that are unfinished. So it makes the world not seem like it's so static. Then there's that tower overlooking the entire thing here. I really like this. This is cool. So this is another ship that they're gonna send out into the river, again for trading and things. I'm sure they're gonna fill it with all kind of textiles and pots and things. Look at this. I guess on this side they actually decided to use a darker stone. So instead of the mortar cobble, they're using stone bricks and things, which is really cool. Gives this side of the build a lot more of a texture, probably to show it like kind of aging as it's closer to the water here. I love the inclusion of this little balcony on this side as well. That's actually really cool. I love this little coastal side of the town as well, with the balconies and things, the darker stone. Maybe we can pop in one of these buildings. Oh, looks like in here they're actually working on smaller ships as well. So the smaller ships get built on the inside here. This is definitely more of like the industrial side of town, kind of working on the ships. You got planks that are being cut. I like this room. It's really nice and dark. The Bliss shaders really complements this type of world very well. And like I was saying, Bliss is one of those shaders that actually runs like surprisingly well for what it is. So let's make our way back to the unfinished ship, and we can continue our tour of the tower here. So it looks like we have multiple floors. We could go up or we could go down. Let's check out what's down here first. Looks like this is that scroll room again. There's a little overlook that looks down into that room. Let's make our way up the tower. Looks like we have another floor here. I guess this actually leads to the balcony that we saw earlier. Gives us a nice look into the throne room. Nice little balcony. I love inclusions of this type of stuff. Looks like this just kind of continues on. I'm guessing these are kind of the living quarters for the king and maybe his family. I'm a really big fan of courtyards and architecture, just for whatever reason. Especially if they got that little garden thing. They got a little planter and like little plants and stuff. Don't even get me started. So yeah, this is definitely the living quarters for the king. This is nice. You have a beautiful view into the courtyard. Nice private bedroom. It's a single bed though. Where's the wifey supposed to sleep? What's going on here? I have questions. So the king definitely has some cash on him. I would not go band for band with the king of Lisclorn. He would outdo me. So that's the king's living room right there, living space. Let's make our way up to the top of the tower here. Making our way to the top. I think this is the naughty chair. This oh, but at least you get a view of the surrounding areas. You can see the town out there. See way off in the distance, you see the mountains and the beautiful blue sky. Again, the river and things leading through. No, this is cool. I like this. This is a beautiful tower. I love that every part of the build is very unique. So they didn't stick with the same stone. So this tower is actually built out of much darker stone and looks a lot more worn down than the rest of the town, whereas the town has a much lighter kind of palette. Looks like there's actually bird eggs on the top here, which is actually a really fun little detail. I love it. I think the details are what really make a build kind of stand out for me. On top of the tower here, you can just see a beautiful view of Lisclorn. Nice cozy little town. This is definitely one of the places I would live if I was to live in this world. But we can see Lisclorn has like just a thriving little economy here. Looks like over here is maybe a little bit of a quarry of some sort that they're kind of mining out. It did say that this location is actually a work in progress. So if we come over here, we can kind of take a look at, so here's are just kind of like placeholder blocks. They left some signs for the builders, so they want this all to be limestone and textured out nicely. Then over here, we can kind of see a little peek into their building process because this server is a work in progress. So right here, old grave. So this is going to be a little graveyard area on this side where these kind of green blocks are. So it's really fun. This server is always just kind of being worked on. Anytime you log in, you're going to see architects and builders or guests like me just kind of wandering around. And they're all kind of chatting and working on things. So if you're actually a good Minecraft builder, you can actually apply to be a builder for Ardacraft. I think through their Discord and things. They also offer plots as well, so you don't have to apply for that. You can just kind of log in and warp to a plot, and you can try out all the different building materials and things. I think it's really special that they actually let you join the server and explore their creation here. So yeah, that's Lisclorn. Beautiful town, very affluent, very nice. I'm definitely thinking it's kind of one of those trading kind of villages. But you can see all the little farms and things off the side here. You got groves just going on and on for miles. And again, this is just one of many locations I think what's crazy is if you had the time, you could actually explore the entire map by foot, just walking from location to location, which I think is a really special kind of thing about this map. So another featured location was Helms Deep, and this looks like a beautiful little castle here in the center of some mountains, kind of built up in the valley here. This is really cool. I'm really excited to check this out. Looks like just outside Helms Deep is actually some village homes and things. I really like it. I like the village out here. This feels very peaceful and very farmy. So you can actually see the architecture is much different at Helms Deep. Like the village here is a lot more medieval, whereas Lisclorn was, I think, a little bit more of a modern kind of build. Modern, relatively speaking, obviously not. This is definitely more of like a medieval kind of town. Something maybe you'd find in Kingdom Come Deliverance is sort of what I'm getting at here. So you can see the townsfolk here have a much more basic sort of market here, trading things like produce and other items amongst themselves, whereas Lisclorn was more of kind of trading higher end kind of items. I love the little streams that run alongside the river. This definitely feels like a nice homestead kind of area, very cozy, very simple living out here. Kind of making our way towards Helms Deep. You can just see the scale of everything. Like our character is so small compared to everything. We have a little watchtower here that kind of keeps lookout over things. You can see from the top here we have a nice view of the pathway in, the village, the streams, the surrounding farmland. We have another watchtower over there as well. Looks like just outside the castle is actually some horses out in the pastures here. Let's see what this little tent is over here. I'm guessing this little tent's probably for the townsfolk or maybe the guards that are out here watching watching everything. We got a nice little fire and seating areas and things, and looks like in here just some cots and things, probably for the watchmen. And then obviously just outside the castle we have some horses and things just kind of grazing. But you know, simple things like the pathway here are all very nicely detailed, which I think is kind of crazy. Like I literally just right click with the shovel and I'm happy with like the pathway block. But you know, this whole pathway, especially when you fly up, looks really realistic, especially with all the dark patches and things just spread throughout it. It's really impressive what they did here with this. And we have a really long slope up into the castle here. You have huge mountains just surrounding everything. But the scale of everything is just amazing. I'm really curious. I'm really curious to see what's in the center castle here. All right, making our way through the main little entrance here. Definitely see the layout here. So it's very barren in here. Looks like it's actually under construction. So we have some wood being cut here. Coming off into one of the side rooms here, we actually have some weapons and armaments and things to keep the castle safe. Tons of arrows. I think with the way this castle's kind of laid out, just sort of in the center here, bows and kind of ranged sort of weapons are definitely the way to go. They even have some hoists and things to pull things up. I love inclusions of stuff like this in builds to sort of show how everything kind of moves about. That's really cool. Let's actually fly our way up here to the top of the wall or the bankment here. You can see just tons and tons of arrows. They are ready for literally anything that comes to them. It'd be really hard to take this castle because you have all this open land and there's no tree coverage or anything. It's just literally, there's mountains on this side so you can't come from behind you. And then you have this whole open land with only literally one way in, because the castle itself is actually built up from the ground. So there's literally only one entrance into this thing. I think we'll just kind of continue along the walls here. I'm curious to see what the backside of this castle looks like, if there's another entrance or if there is only one entrance. Looks like in here now we're getting into maybe the buildings of the castle. Definitely a castle that was built for defense. It's not necessarily, I don't really get homey vibes from here. Also with a name like Helms Deep, I don't think it sounds very homey. It's definitely for purpose here. So lots of tools and things in here. Maybe they're preparing for a siege, I feel like, with all the weapons and things being laid about. Again, I'm not really somebody who watches, I didn't really watch the Lord of the Rings or read the books or anything. So I'm just kind of coming into this as like somebody who just likes Minecraft. And again, if you guys are interested in seeing a playthrough of building with Conquest Reforged, let me know in a comment. I'd love to do that. A castle definitely built for function here. So here's the other side of the castle. We can see kind of a little ravine cut through the mountains here. Curious to check out what these little houses and little camps are. Let's make our way to this side. Maybe there's like a cave that we can go into. So we can see this kind of wall separates that side from this side. Let's see what's over here. Little storage room, additional little watch post for everything. Yeah, we got bows, arrows. I guess it's just to protect the castle's flank over here. Looks like down here's some quarry work or some stone work that they were working on. Maybe they transported this over. I love seeing builds that are kind of in works in progress. It just makes the world feel so much more alive. And then over here is actually a little archery range. Especially with the layout of the castle, it kind of makes sense that they like to work on their archery skills here. You know, it's not like these builds are kind of separate from each other. You can they're all interconnected somehow in the map. Yeah, I guess this is where all the soldiers maybe live. So they have a nice little sleeping cot here right in front of the stream here. So they eat and train here, sleep here, they all live here. Looks like on this side is some stables, but all the horses are out and about. Maybe they're out for a ride or doing something. So the castle all kind of loops into itself. So if they were to attack the castle, they'd have to make their way all the way around before they could get to the center here. So once you make your way all the way around the castle, now you can finally get into the center here with the main keep in the middle. I always like it when castles have these kind of builds on the outskirts or in the courtyards and things. Looks like down here's maybe a little bit of a dungeon. Give ourselves a torch so we can light our way up down here. Looks like down here is just a little storeroom. This basement's actually super creepy. You can see even things like the basements here are nicely arched. It's not like, oh, no one's gonna go down here, we're not gonna detail it. So if I actually take my light away, you can see it's totally dark down here. I feel like the castle is definitely in sort of siege mode. So you can see various builds kind of in the center here. But the main focus is definitely the tower in the middle, which now we're gonna head into. Really curious to see what the inside of the castle looks like, if it's more homey or if it's more defensive on the inside as well. But coming up one of the watchtowers, this is one of the innermost towers. So you can see as people come through the gate, they have a clear view down at them. Definitely to give themselves most of an advantage here. Let's make our way inside the castle. Again, you have to kind of wrap around. There's not any easy way to sort of get in here. It's almost labyrinth-like how you have to actually get into the castle. Stepping into the castle feels a little bit more homey in here with the fireplace and things. But again, they have their weapons all on display here, so no time for formalities here. It's just they're just ready to go. Things on tap and small little kitchen in here to prepare all their foods and things. But definitely a stark contrast to a town like Lisclorn that we were at, where everything was kind of like nice and homey. We have a little bell here, I'm thinking. Little chandeliers up at the top. I really love the details here. This is really nice. I love that they went with a different kind of stone on the inside instead of just using cobblestone the whole time. This seems like where the king and maybe the queen would eat up here with all the banners and things. This is definitely more of an exclusive kind of dining room. Maybe he would sit here and kind of have his audience with all of his friends, closest friends. The bottom floor there is kind of for the soldiers to eat at. All the soldiers sleep and things up here. We have a nice little fire in the middle that they can warm themselves up at, but you can see all their clothes hanging to dry. Definitely a very cluttered space, as most kind of soldiers are. It looks like the castle goes up even further. So the guard room is actually right in the middle of the tower here. But we actually have one more floor we can go up. Actually, this is kind of nice. This is sort of a nicety, I feel like, a little curved staircase. I'm feeling like this is where the king probably stays. You have a nice double bed for the wifey. Little map. And a beautiful view out into the town below. Kind of overlook your kingdom from here. Also a strong box on the table, probably filled with the most valuable items. Definitely more of like a Nordic or Viking kind of feel to this place. You know, you would think for a king he'd have like a really big, grand kind of bed, but again, I feel like this tower or this whole area is just mainly built for function and things. Right up here we have the beautiful banner that hangs over Helms Deep. So if they were ever to take this castle, their goal is to get up to the top here and hang up their own banner and take down this one. But this is the central little tower here, so you can see every part of the castle from up here. But I doubt they would be able to take this place in any sort of reasonable fashion. It would take a lot of manpower to take down this place. Definitely a cool little build. I love how every single build is so different from each other. But you can just see the scale of everything. Like if you're just kind of walking up to it, you can see how tall everything is built up. Alright, so the next location I'm going to check out is Isengard. And this just looks crazy. So like I was saying, I'm not really too familiar with the Lord of the Rings storyline or lore. So I'm really curious to hear what the story is behind this tower. This looks absolutely incredible. And I'm really excited to make my way into it and see what's going on. But you can just see the world around us, the mountains, the vast open plains, thanks to distant horizons. This is truly incredible, honestly. It's really inspiring to see people's ingenuity and creativity, and you know, the amount of passion that goes into something like this is just incredible. So just outside Isengard, looks like there's actually vast fields and things. And we also have some smaller village homes out here as well that we can take a look at. Looks like just various small little village homes out here. I really love just walking around this server and exploring everything. It's really fun kind of coming in with a fresh sort of perspective to things. Kind of not knowing the story behind things and trying to figure out like what everything kind of means and what the story is behind everything is actually really fun for me. So it looks like Isengard actually has a really huge kind of wall with steam sort of coming out from around it. And then just along the way, there's tons of little village homes and things and farmland surrounding the area. So coming up to the front gate here, you can see the walls are mainly made out of stone, it looks like. It almost kind of feels like the stone isn't man-made. It's almost like it's natural, but it was just kind of brought up out of the ground. That's sort of what I'm thinking here. But you can see the beautiful texturing here by the builders and architects. It's just incredible. All right, let's see if we can make our way inside. Oh, look at this. So this is an example of the create mod, allowing us to kind of walk through here. I feel like Isengard is one of those iconic locations from Lord of the Rings. I definitely recognize it, but again, I'm not really sure what the actual story is behind it. So if you guys are fans of Middle-earth and the Lord of the Rings, let me know what the story behind this location is. Or if there's any other locations you'd like me to check out, feel free to let me know. Wow, the gardens here are very vast and beautiful. I love this. Definitely a stark contrast to Helm's Deep that we were at earlier. I feel like Isengard's definitely more fantasy vibe. I would almost say elven, but I feel like the way it is, I tend to notice that elven architecture is a lot more lighter, very beautiful and whimsical, but I wouldn't say it's quite elven. Pergolas and nice cozy areas. This is beautiful. I love like luscious gardens like this. All kinds of different pathways leading around. Small little footbridge leading over the water here. This definitely feels like a special type of place here. I love this. This is a beautiful little fountain. As I'm kind of exploring around, I'm just sort of getting ideas for things that I want to build in my own worlds. But you can just see there's no details here that are like left untouched. The community with Ardacraft is actually just incredible what people are able to build with. I kind of want to explore the walls here and see what these are kind of all about. I love this door. These are really cool. Again, from the outside, the walls have a very natural kind of look to them. So I'm not sure if they were here before and they carved them out or if they were built up. Passing through a small little eating area here, we have some storage for food. All right, making our way up through a small little staircase, and we're at the top here. So we have a nice, beautiful paved pathway up to the walls here. But you can see the walls. The reason I'm thinking that they're actually naturally formatted is just because of how texturized everything is. It does just look like a stone wall that was here. You can kind of see some steam coming out the top here from different, maybe little rooms that they have here. So up top here you can see some kind of windows peeking out. Definitely not as many weapons laying around as Helm's Deep, so we can see that I feel like this area doesn't feel like they're at risk as much. Beautiful view of the tower here with the surrounding mountains around it. This is just stunning. I love this. Pretty cool. So I'm definitely curious to hear what the story is behind these walls that are surrounding the area. Like, are they natural or were they built up? All right, let's make our way into the tower here. I love it. I love how steep this staircase is. Looks like the tower is made out of a really dark stone. Let's see what this is. Hearth weathered black stone. Okay, really cool. I love the entranceway here. I love how much contrast there is between the tower and the surrounding gardens here. Definitely a very ornate and special kind of tower here. Just the marble floors and everything. You can actually see the reflections. I don't think these are real reflections. I think they actually mirrored the room underneath the build here, which is actually such a crazy detail. Who needs ray tracing? They just redid everything on the bottom floors here. That is just gorgeous, actually. That is such a crazy detail. I almost feel like this building is kind of very evil-ish just because of how dark it is. But it's such a contrast from the luscious, beautiful gardens that are outside compared to the inside here that's really dark and kind of cave-like. Again, though, I could totally be misreading this and thinking it's like this evil kind of location when it's really like, oh, in the lore, it's actually this. But I think that's kind of like a supervillain trope that if the rooms are like ultra dark like this, that it's like an evil kind of room. Coming up here, you can actually see down into the entranceway here. And this build is so vast that there's actually like clouds and things above us. Coming out here, we have a nice balcony view into the gardens below us. So coming up to one of the upper floors here, looks like there's a little seating area in here. Maybe for the king or the leader of this little settlement. Here's definitely the nicer of the bedrooms, so this is its own private room with drapes and things. There's the other staircase that leads our way up here. I love the narrow little staircases that lead up. Not everything has to be super open. Right here we have a bigger dining room, maybe for meetings and things. I love the ornate little chandelier here right in the center. This is definitely the throne chair here. So all of your guests and things, probably dignitaries and things that you're meeting with. Nice fireplaces in the corner. I love the just layout of this. This is super cool. Here we have some kitchens and things to provide for the table there. I mean, as big as this build is to explore, imagine how much time it took to actually build, you know, because it's not like this is something you can just rush and world paint. You have to actually place everything by hand. So I think that's really special and something that's really cool. Kind of crazy how tall this build actually is. Then on the next floor here, we have a library filled with scrolls and I can imagine just ancient knowledge that's in here. Looks like in here's another little landing that we can stop at. Beautiful chandelier on the top there. Looks like these are some offices or planning rooms here. Everything's just kind of carved out of this dark stone. I love these little studies with the telescope looking out. Everything is just kind of follows this theme of having a centralized room and then off in the corners is individual little rooms here. The build almost has this organic kind of feel because the staircases don't really connect to themselves. Each of the staircases kind of leads to a different little landing. This whole kind of build just reminds me of something that's very like organic and natural, as if this location was always here and they just kind of built into it. I think these here are actually like prison cells because you have like these iron doors here and all that's in here is a bench. It looks like they keep the prisoners pretty high up. Looks like here we're on an additional floor here. Ooh, this looks like a much nicer study that they have here. So we have things like the chess table here, ornate kind of rugs and chandeliers here. This is such a bad comparison, but this tower kind of reminds me of something from maybe Oblivion. This must be the king's room, actually, or kind of the leader's room. You have his own little floor here with his bed. Looks like there's another additional staircase here. These must be guards, I'm thinking, kind of keeping watch over this room, or they might be sets of armor. These rooms are just filled with various items, lock boxes, crates of riches and things laying about. So I'm thinking this top floor here is kind of the vault. Looks like this leads all the way to the top of Isengard here. What a beautiful structure. Honestly, just the way this thing is kind of constructed, it really makes me feel like this was a natural formation and they kind of turned it into this castle just because of how kind of organic the build sort of feels. It doesn't feel like it was built. It feels like it was naturally formated here. So another location I wanted to check out is Minas Tirith, which is this really iconic location. It's still under construction, but we can still check it out a little bit and see what they've done so far. So this is another one of those locations that I definitely recognize from the movies. We can kind of see kind of Ardacraft's building process here, so you can see some green and red blocks placed everywhere, sort of as a way for the builders to communicate with each other as to what they want to change and what they want to redo and build. So here, just on ground level, you can see how huge this build is. If it wasn't for distant horizons, I don't think you would actually even be able to see the top of this build from the ground level here. But you can see definitely a build that's in progress here, and I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's finished. So you can see some temporary blocks left here by the builders as they decide, what would look best here, and as they slowly build on it. This server is always sort of a work in progress. It's really cool to see. So making our way through the gate here. Beautiful little courtyard. It looks like this area is mostly finished. All kinds of little details and things on the initial little gate here. So we have all kinds of statues and things. So let's kind of come up to the top here and see what this kind of looks like. The view is immaculate. The landscape just looks beautiful. And up here's the actual castle part. Like, this is literally just one location. This could literally be its own map, and I think people would be blown away. But the fact that this is just one of hundreds of locations is just mind-blowing to me. It is really cool to see these work-in-progress kind of builds. It's one thing to see the builds finished, but it's also another thing to actually see them being built in real time here. Definitely not something you can rush. You really have to take your time with massive projects like this. So we can kind of see here with some notes left for the builders. This is definitely one of those, I definitely recognize this location. Maybe I've seen it in a picture somewhere, but I'm not sure what the actual story is behind this location. But the scale here is kind of crazy. It's amazing that we have tools like distant horizons and things to actually see this world in its full state here, because when you actually play with 12 render distance, it's really hard to tell how big this map actually is. Actually, even with distant horizons, we can't see the edge of the map. That's how large this map is. So another location that was suggested to me by one of the members of Ardacraft was actually Edoras here. Honestly, I love just exploring the Ardacraft server here and just getting ideas for my own sort of worlds here. So we can see the pathway leading up to Edoras is a nice little dirt pathway with some streams running through it. Again, no detail here, was just sort of overlooked. We got some fields with horses and things along the outskirts of the walls here. Like villager homes on the outskirts here. Probably the farmer homes here, overlooking all the fields of wheat and things to make sure the city has plenty of food. Again, kind of a bad comparison, but this area definitely reminds me of maybe like the early areas of The Witcher 3. I love the little walk up to the front gate here. The little mounds kind of built up, almost like they're hedges. And then all along the wall here, you have a kind of a moat to make sure it's very difficult for attackers to get in here. All right, making our way up through the central little gatehouse here. Definitely getting kind of Nordic vibes or maybe Viking vibes from this location. Doors open up nicely thanks to the create mod. Alright, so coming through the front gate here, you can see the main longhouse up at the top there. But let's give the village like maybe a little bit of a walk around. Literally hundreds of buildings just in this location. I'm thinking this area is probably for washing their clothes here. So you don't have to leave the safety of the walls. You can just come down here, wash your clothes and things with the fresh stream water here. So coming from the gate, if we head this way, looks like there's maybe a little bit of a market over here with some stalls and things for traders to show off their goods. So, you know, weapons, food, and produce. A little centralized flag right here. Let's kind of stop in one of these village homes here. See what the inside looks like and see how the people here live. Definitely kind of gives me Skyrim kind of vibes, like a Whiterun. We have like a central little hearth here with beds and things surrounding it. It's really smart, then you don't have to build multiple fireplaces. Keeps the whole house warm and keeps everybody inside nice and cozy and protected. Flying on the opposite side of the village, I actually noticed some of these homes over here are kind of under construction. So we can sort of see how the homes are sort of built here. So we can see the kind of frames and things that they use to build and the supports that are holding everything up. This is really cool. I love to see things that are under construction or are being built. Makes the world feel a lot more alive instead of everything being set in stone. It's like they're still adding to the world. I love the mountains just off in the distance surrounding the town here. But you can just see the scale of everything. Our character is so small compared to the homes here. Maybe we'll kind of stop at these little houses here right next to the main building. I like this little shed that's right here off to the side. Love it. It looks like it's just kind of built into the ground. So it looks like a little storeroom for food. Then through here, this definitely looks more ornate than the typical village homes. We have all kinds of tapestries in here. All kinds of food and things. They even have laundry in here as well. I'm thinking probably the closest people to the leaders might live in these types of homes here. Here looks like just a storeroom for all the weapons and things. We have just chests full of armaments and shields. Maybe this little location here is for all the guards. And here's just a room full of riches. I'm thinking this is a little area for the guards and things because of all the bunk beds in here. That's pretty cool. It's right next to the main building, so this building is actually massive. Like we could see it way down from the bottom and it looked big from down there, so up close you can just see the scale of everything. There's actually multiple pathways that you can take up to the main building here. Making our way up the stairs here. Let's head inside. Oh, wow. This looks super cool. I love this in here. Definitely reminds me of Whiterun from Skyrim. Just having the hearths in the center, and you have tables and tables for all of your guests along the sides here. Definitely like a longhouse from sort of Viking architecture. So you have all your food and things cooking here. Definitely a warm, cozy kind of vibe in here. Sort of very carefree in here, I feel like. Like the drinks are flowing, you have plenty of food to eat, and you have good company to spend it with, so I can't think of a better place to kind of hang out. Some beds and things along the side, so maybe the people closest to the kind of king will stay in this house with him. He gets to kind of overlook everything, and you can see the steam coming up from the top of the fires, collecting in the roof up there. Off to the side here is actually, I'm guessing, the king's room, so even the king kind of sleeps amongst with other people. Got like a little hot tub in here, and then maybe the king's personal little armory. Just in case if attackers were to come in here for him, he can quickly grab all these weapons. This is just amazing to me. And there's plenty of different entrances you can kind of take off the main room here. There's whole other sections of the village that we didn't even really get to take a look at. But coming back here, I love the view from the tower here. Way off in the distance, all these mountains and additional little village homes there at the bottom of the valley. You can kind of see it's built up on this mountain here, so there's really only one way in, and it's through that gate that's at the that we walked through at the beginning. Someone wanted to attack this settlement, they'd have to make their way all the way through all the houses, fight their way all the way up to the top here. I don't think they'd have a very easy time doing that. This is super cool. I love this. I love that every build is so unique and has its own sort of style and architecture to it. So Ardacraft literally has hundreds of locations just like the ones that we checked out today. I did a video earlier on this channel where I was exploring other locations such as Rivendell here. If you have more locations that you want me to check out, let me know in a comment below. I really love exploring this server, and I'm really thankful for all the support that you guys have been giving the channel lately. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for subscribing, and shout out to all my channel members, and I'll see you guys in the next one.